Welcome to Dharma in Motion, a place where the teachings of the Buddha are retold in a gentle, profound, and relatable way for modern life. Each podcast episode is a wheel of mindfulness, bringing you back to yourself, calming the mind, and opening the door to inner peace. Part 1. Why does letting go of greed, anger, and delusion bring happiness? The Buddha taught this, yet few truly practice. There is an old story about an old man living in a small village in China. Throughout his life, he was known for being calm and never losing his temper. Even when others slandered, criticized, or falsely accused him, he would still smile. One day, someone asked him, "Why do you never get angry or react when insulted?" The old man smiled kindly. "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The person replied, "To the giver." The old man nodded. "Exactly. When someone gives us anger but we don't receive it, that anger remains theirs." That simple story contains one of the deepest cores of the Buddha's teaching. Letting go of greed, anger, and delusion is essentially giving yourself a life of happiness. Yet ironically, what seems so simple is what few people actually do. Greed, anger, and delusion, the three poisons of the mind, are not distant concepts of the monastery. They are three streams of energy silently operating in every word, action, and reaction of our daily lives. When we feel upset because someone doesn't reply to our message, that is greed. When we feel hurt by criticism, that is anger. When we insist we are right and refuse to listen, that is delusion. We carry within us the belief, if I had just a little more, if things went my way, if others changed, then I would be happy. But that is the cycle of suffering. Each time greed arises, we chase illusions thinking they are happiness. Each time anger arises, we burn ourselves in its flames, only to regret when it cools down. Each time delusion takes control, we walk in a fog, unaware of the pain we cause others or ourselves. The Buddha did not come to punish us for these. He pointed out a truth. If we cannot let go of greed, we will always suffer from what we lack. If we cannot let go of anger, we will always suffer from what we cannot control. If we cannot let go of delusion, we will always suffer from our own misunderstandings. Mindfulness is the path for us to recognize these three poisons the moment they arise. A word that makes our face flush, a glance that makes us feel hurt, a compliment that makes us attached. Without mindfulness, we react out of habit. With mindfulness, we can recognize, this is anger, this is greed, this is delusion. And from there, we can avoid being controlled by them. Some may say, I cannot help but feel angry, I cannot help but desire. That is true when we have never practiced stopping and observing. But just like a musical instrument, if you never practice, how can you play a beautiful song? Living without being controlled by greed, anger, and delusion is an art, one that anyone can learn, with patience and compassion for oneself. A young practitioner once asked his teacher, "How can I stop greed, anger, and delusion?" The teacher did not answer directly. He gave the student a full glass of water and said, "Walk around the forest with this glass, but don't spill a drop." When the student returned, exhausted but with the glass still full, the teacher asked, "On the way, did you hear the birds singing, the leaves falling?" The student shook his head. "No, master, I was only focused on not spilling the water." The teacher smiled. That is mindfulness. When your mind is fully on one thing, temptations and anger have no room to enter. Applied in daily life, we can begin simply. Each morning, sit quietly for 5 minutes, just observing the breath. When someone says something that upsets you, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath and silently ask, "Is this anger?" When you find yourself craving something excessively, material, recognition, or a person, gently observe, this is greed, and each night before sleep, you can reflect, today, how many times was I led by greed, anger, and delusion? How many times did I wake up to them? This journey does not require you to become a monk. You only need to be present with yourself in the small things, and you are already turning the Dharma wheel within. Once that wheel turns, each day you will feel lighter in heart, clearer in mind, and life, though still difficult, will meet you with greater stability. The Buddha did not teach us to deny emotions. He taught us to recognize, to understand, and to let go. Happiness does not come from escaping afflictions, but from seeing them clearly and no longer being controlled by them. So try to begin. You don't need to change your whole life. Just in one moment choose not to react out of habit, but stay silent, breathe, and look deeply. In that moment, you have already touched freedom. Part 2: The Danger of Illusion. A mind that fails to recognize is a mind that is led. Have you ever sat still while a storm raged in your mind? No one is beside you, nothing is happening, yet your thoughts are like a screen that never switches off, replaying old conversations, imagining events that haven't happened, worrying about things you don't know will ever come true. That is illusion. And the danger lies in the fact that most of us don't even realize we are being controlled by it. A Zen story tells of a disciple who asked his master, "When I meditate, my mind wanders all over. What should I do?" The master replied, "You don't need to do anything, just observe." The disciple was puzzled. "But if I don't control them, won't they run wild?" The master smiled. "It is precisely because you try to control them that they run wild. Let illusions come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. Don't cling, don't push, just observe. Illusion is not an enemy. It is only unlit thought. But when we don't recognize it, illusion leads us to live in the past or future, in expectation or fear, never truly present. When you walk on the street while thinking about the coming meeting, you don't see the blue sky. When you eat while thinking about yesterday's argument, you don't taste the food. Illusion robs us of the most precious gift, the present moment. In Buddhism, illusion is also called ignorance, not seeing clearly. We fail to see the true nature of things, so we cling to temporary appearances. A criticism, a cold look, a careless word. With mindfulness, we see they are only passing expressions. Without mindfulness, illusion weaves a whole story. They don't like me. I'm not good enough. I deserve rejection. From a small seed, illusion inflates into a storm, leaving our mind in endless suffering. There is a modern and easy-to-understand example. Imagine your mind as a smartphone. If unmanaged, you let dozens of apps run in the background. The phone overheats, the battery drains, the device freezes. The mind is the same. If too many underlying thoughts run without being cleared, we will be exhausted, confused, and not know why. Stillness is not about shutting thoughts down, but about not being carried away by them. Like sitting beside a river, you see the leaves floating by, but you are not the leaf. You are simply sitting there, aware. The very first and most basic practice in recognizing illusions is to return to the breath. The breath is the present moment. It is not theory. It is living experience. Each time you breathe in and know you are breathing in, breathe out and know you are breathing out. You step out of the unconscious flow of illusions, even if only for a few seconds. But those few seconds, if repeated often enough, will become the foundation for a stable mind. One practitioner once shared, each time he was caught in negative thinking, he no longer tried to resist. He simply whispered, "Just a thought, not real," and returned to the breath. Gradually, those thoughts lost their power, not because he defeated them, but because he no longer fed them energy. Mindfulness is like that, not a special state, but full presence in each moment. A surge of anger arises, you see it. A desire flares up, you recognize it. A chain of repetitive thoughts appears. You name it. In the very act of seeing, you begin to be free. Try a small exercise today. Each time you notice yourself wandering in thought, no need to judge, no need to resist. Simply whisper, "illusion," and return to the breath. Even if you must do it 10 times, 100 times, it doesn't matter. Each return is a seed of mindfulness planted, and at some point, you will no longer be the one swept away by the stream of thoughts, but the one sitting calmly on the shore, observing life's flow. That is the very first step of practice, not to become someone else, but to return to yourself, no longer led by the illusions of the mind. Part 3. Letting go is not losing, but finding yourself again. There was once a man clinging tightly to a large rock, drifting in a flood, the rushing water wearing him out. A boatman rowed nearby and shouted, "Let go! If you let go, I will pull you up." But the man shook his head. "I'm afraid to fall, I cannot let go." And finally, exhausted, both he and the rock were swept away. That story, if we look closely, is exactly how we often live, holding tightly to the very things that cause us suffering, yet afraid to let go, thinking they are all we have. In life, everyone has at least once felt unable to let go. Some hold on to an old resentment for years. Some cannot leave behind a relationship that has harmed both sides. Some cling to fear of failure and dare not move forward. Letting go for many sounds like losing, like falling into emptiness. But in truth, letting go is not losing. It is laying down unnecessary burdens to walk more lightly. The Buddha taught, to enter the path of liberation, the first thing is to learn to let go. Letting go is not abandoning responsibility, not indifference or apathy. Letting go is seeing clearly what should be kept and what is binding us. It is an act of wisdom, not weakness. A woman who suffered for years after divorce shared that she could not stop thinking of her ex-husband. Though he had a new family, she tormented herself with questions. If only, why, what if, until one day during a Dharma talk, she heard a sentence. Letting go is not forgetting, but not letting the past control the present. She burst into tears. From that day, whenever the past returned, she smiled and reminded herself, that was then. I am living with today. The practice of letting go requires courage. Courage to see what causes us suffering. Courage to accept that not everything goes our way. Courage to face the emptiness when giving up an old habit, an old emotion, an old image. But within that emptiness lies the chance to hear the call of our true self. There is a short Zen story. A Zen master was invited to teach a wealthy student. The student prepared tea, fruit, cakes, then said, "Master, I have read many books, studied much doctrine. Now I want you to give me something deeper." The Zen master said nothing, only poured tea into the student's cup. The water overflowed, yet he continued pouring. Alarmed, the student cried, "Master, the cup is full, you can't pour more." The master smiled. "Your mind is the same. If you don't empty what is already full, how can you receive anything new?" Letting go is creating space in the heart so that light can enter. When you let go of unrealistic expectations, you can accept reality as it is. When you let go of a toxic relationship, you make room for healthier connections. When you let go of the fear of failure, you dare to live true to yourself. A young person once asked me, "How do I know what to let go of and what to keep?" I replied, "If it makes you feel light, keep it. If it makes you feel heavy, let it go." There are things we must let go of, not because they are not precious, but because they are no longer right for the path we are walking. Life is a river, and we must learn to flow like water, not cling to keeping everything still. The Buddha taught, the world is impermanent. All phenomena are not real. The wise do not cling to anything, thus they dwell in peace amidst life's turbulence. It may sound lofty, but in truth, you can practice right now. Look at something you are holding too tightly, perhaps an anger, a sadness, a loved one who has passed. Ask yourself, why am I holding this? Does it lighten my heart or weigh it down? If the answer is weighs me down, then it is time to gently let it go. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is a step into freedom. Once you taste the flavor of an unbound mind, not chained, not pulled back by the past, not disturbed by the future, you will no longer want to return to the old way of living. And if you are still hesitant, remember the words of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. Sometimes letting go is not the weakest thing, but the strongest act you can do to truly love yourself. Part 4. Happiness is not far away, but right within us. There was a man who traveled everywhere in search of happiness. He climbed mountains, crossed rivers, learned from many masters, and tried every method, from wealth to love, from success to adventure. But the farther he went, the emptier he felt. One day, he came before a Zen master and asked, "Master, where is true happiness?" The master looked at him, remained silent for a moment, then replied, "Try putting down everything you are carrying. Then sit here, breathe slowly, and feel. Has happiness not always been with you all along, without you realizing it?" That story may sound like a fairy tale, but it is very close to the reality of many people. We often attach happiness to conditions. Having money brings happiness. Being loved brings happiness. Achieving goals brings happiness. But the danger is, when those conditions are absent or lost, happiness also vanishes. That is the endless cycle of a dependent kind of happiness, fragile and easily broken. The Buddha taught that all pursuits of happiness outside are illusions, because the external world is ever-changing and the human heart is ever-shifting. Only when we return inward, touching the stillness and understanding within our own mind, can we find the kind of happiness that does not depend, the happiness called true peace. An everyday example: two people live in the same small house with few possessions, yet their attitudes differ greatly. The first constantly complains, "The house is cramped, money is scarce, life is unfair." The second looks out to the garden, sees the morning sun on the leaves, the child laughing and smiles. "I have a roof over my head, loved ones by my side, a new day to live, that is enough." Happiness does not come from circumstances, but from how we view those circumstances. Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "Happiness is not a destination, but a path. Each step taken in mindfulness, each breath aware of itself, are seeds of happiness being planted." This statement reveals a simple truth. We do not need to wait until everything is perfect to be happy. We can be happy in every moment of mindful living. Practicing mindfulness is one way to nurture happiness from within. When you eat, eat in silence, savor the taste, be grateful for the food. When you walk, walk slowly, listen to the birds singing, the wind brushing through your hair. When you hug your child, hug as if it were the last time. Those small moments, when fully present, become the sweet drops of happiness. Someone once asked, "I am suffering because I lost the one I love. How can I be happy?" The answer is not to deny the pain. It is to go through the pain mindfully, to see the impermanent nature of all things, and from there to release expectations, opening the heart to the present. Happiness is not the absence of sadness, but the ability to smile even when tears still linger. It is cherishing what remains instead of suffering over what is lost. In the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha clearly stated the first truth of life is suffering. But he did not stop there. He also pointed out that there is a path to liberation from suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path. And along that path, every mindful step, every wholesome act, every kind thought are seeds of joy. Happiness does not come from some miraculous transformation, but from consistent, patient practice day by day. You can begin today. Write down 3 things you are grateful for. Call a friend you haven't spoken to in a long time. Sit down, close your eyes, and take 3 deep breaths. These are very small steps, but each small step, repeated daily, will bring you closer to true happiness. And one day you will suddenly realize happiness is no longer something to seek, but something that has always been there within you. Part 5. Letting go is not abandoning, but learning to be gentle with yourself. In a small village, there was an old man living in seclusion near the mountains. Villagers often said they had never seen him angry or complaining, though his life was far from easy. One day, a young man came curiously and asked, "Sir, why are you always so serene? Life is not always favorable." The old man smiled, pointing to his thin hands. "I once held on very tightly, so tightly that my hands shook and my heart hurt. Only later did I understand. What caused my suffering was not the world, but the things I refused to let go of." That story reflects the truth of many people's hearts. In the modern whirlwind, we may stay busy all day, yet our minds remain burdened. Sometimes just a passing remark, a mistake from the past, or an unmet expectation all become heavy loads. The problem is we carry them not just for hours, but for years, even a lifetime. Our mind is like an invisible bag filled with rocks we put in ourselves, but very few realize that we have the right to put the bag down at any moment. The Buddha taught, letting go is not abandoning, but seeing clearly the attachment so as not to be bound by it. No one asks you to leave the world, abandon work or relationships. Letting go, first of all, is letting go in the mind. Letting go of notions like, I must be this way, they must not be that way. Letting go of the ego that always wants to compare. Letting go of invisible expectations that exhaust you. One famous Zen story tells of 2 monks crossing a stream, meeting a young woman struggling to find a way across. The elder monk immediately carried her across, then continued walking. A while later, the younger monk complained, "Brother, you are a monk. How could you carry a woman?" The elder replied lightly, "I put her down at the riverbank, but you are still carrying her now." The story is not about precepts, but about how our mind clings, sometimes not in action, but in thought. The body lets go, but the mind has not. In daily life, letting go can begin with small things. For example, when someone says something that upsets you, instead of carrying those words all day and silently resenting them, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what am I holding here? A wound, a need for recognition, a desire for others to be as I want? Recognition is the first step to letting go, because when we clearly see suffering, we are no longer its victim. A woman once came to a Zen master and said, "Master, I cannot forgive my ex-husband. Each time I think of him, my heart tightens." The Zen master looked at her and gently said, "Forgiveness is not for him to be at peace, but for you to be free." Indeed, many mistake letting go as forgiving others, but in reality, we are forgiving ourselves from being imprisoned in the past. Letting go is not suppressing emotions. On the contrary, we must listen to them to understand the roots of our clinging. You can feel sadness, you can feel anger, but instead of letting it replay endlessly like a broken tape, you shine mindfulness upon it. When the light of understanding shines, gradually you see what you are holding is no longer worth holding. The modern world makes letting go difficult because it promotes grasping, success, self-image, ideal relationships, control. We are taught that if we do not cling, we will lose. But the Dharma invites the opposite. If you want to keep peace, Learn to loosen, like holding water in your hand. The tighter you grip, the more it slips away. Only when you open your hand just enough can the water naturally stay. A practitioner each night before sleep would write down the 3 things that worried her most, then fold the paper and take 3 deep breaths. That act did not make the problems disappear, but it helped her mind release some unnecessary burdens. Gradually, she slept better, no longer waking in the night with restless thoughts. Letting go does not change circumstances, but it changes how you walk through them. You can try starting today. Choose one small thing you are clinging to, a sense of failure, a desire for recognition, an unfinished plan, and ask, what if I put this down for a while? At first, you may feel fear, emptiness, but then you will sense a quiet space in your heart. In that space, peace is present. In the 4 Noble Truths, the Buddha did not promise life would be without suffering, but he pointed out that suffering arises from craving, that is, from clinging and attachment, and this can be transformed. From right view, the mind releases, not escaping life, but living within it without being bound. Therefore, letting go is not retreat, nor coldness. It is an act of compassion toward yourself. It is a gentle reminder, I have suffered enough, now I deserve to rest. You do not need to let go of everything at once. Begin with one thing, then another, and one day you will look back and realize the journey to happiness is not about gaining more, but about holding less. When we learn to let go at the right time, life becomes as light as a leaf falling in its season. No more struggle, no more clinging. The heart is at ease like a stream returning to its source. If the sharing in this section brings you some peace amidst the busyness of life, please kindly leave a like, share it with someone who may need it, and subscribe to the Dharma in Motion channel to continue walking together with the Buddha's teachings in daily life. See you in the next part, where we will listen to the voice of inner silence. Part 6, Mastering Emotions, Mastering Life. In one Dharma talk, the Buddha told of a man struck by 2 arrows. The first arrow is the event itself, pain, loss, hurt. The second arrow is the man's reaction to the first, resentment, sadness, torment, blame. The Buddha asked, if a man has already been struck by 1 arrow, is it necessary for him to shoot a second one into himself? That story has become a symbol of how we often hurt ourselves with emotions that are not clearly seen and transformed. In modern life, emotions are like waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. Just one glance, one word from someone can make our whole day unsettled. Sometimes a small matter can trigger countless assumptions and nameless pain. But how many actually stop to look directly at that emotion? Most of us react automatically as a deep-seated habit. The Buddha taught that emotions are not enemies. They are guests in the mind, coming and going. The problem is that we often let them stay too long or push them away too forcefully, both causing wounds to the soul. The practice of mindfulness gives us a pause between emotion and action, a small but precious space where we can observe emotions as if watching clouds drift across the sky, knowing they are not me. A Zen story tells of a disciple who came to his master in anger. He shouted, I cannot take it anymore. He insulted me. The master calmly asked, who insulted you? The disciple answered, that man, the one who argued with me yesterday. The master said, when he insulted you was yesterday, so who is insulting you today? That question awakened the disciple. He realized it was himself, by holding on to the anger, who was continuing to cause his own suffering. That is the reality. Emotions may be triggered from the outside, but the one who sustains them is ourselves. When you hold on to anger, the first one to suffer is you. When you nurture jealousy, fear, or hurt, that negative energy turns back and weakens your body and mind. Therefore, mastering emotions is not suppressing or denying them, but understanding and embracing them with wisdom. A practical exercise is stop, breathe, recognize, smile. When an emotion arises, do not react immediately. Stop, take 3 deep breaths, recognize the emotion. Ah, disappointment is here. Not I am disappointed, but there is disappointment. This small change in language is important as it helps you not to identify yourself with the emotion. Then smile. Not a fake smile, but a smile of understanding. I am taking care of an unpleasant emotion with mindfulness. When practiced often, you will see emotions gradually lose their grip. When criticized instead of reacting, you can look to see whether the criticism is partly true. If true, you learn something. If not, you can breathe and smile without being swept away. That is true freedom, not being manipulated by emotions. A truly mature person is not one without negative emotions, but one who can live with them without drowning. They know anger will come, but they have enough wisdom not to hurt others. They may feel sadness, but still have enough stability to hold it without letting it turn into despair. That is the practice of life, not escaping emotions, but walking through them with understanding. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, victory over oneself is greater than victory over 1,000 in battle. That victory is supreme and cannot be taken away. Victory over oneself does not mean repressing emotions, but the ability to recognize, transform, and live in peace with oneself. When you can sit with anger without shouting, sit with sadness without running away, you are taking the first steps on the path of mastering your life. Life will always bring challenges, collisions that stir emotions, but you do not need to be a victim of them. You can choose to stop, breathe, smile, understand, and act with wisdom instead of instinct. That is the path the Buddha walked. And you can too if each day you return to care for yourself with mindfulness. Part 7. Everything will pass. Understanding impermanence to end suffering. Once, King Pasenadi asked the Buddha, "Lord, is there anything in this life that is certain and unchanging?" The Buddha was silent for a moment, then gently replied, "Yes, Your Majesty, it is change itself." That simple answer struck at the root of life. All is impermanent. Impermanence means nothing lasts forever. Emotions change, circumstances change, loved ones may leave, health may decline, wealth may vanish, fame may fade. All are part of the unceasing flow of life. But the problem is, people suffer not because of change itself, but because of resisting it. We want everything to stay the same. We want happiness to last forever. We want someone to love us forever as at the beginning. And when reality differs from expectation, suffering arises. In a Dharma talk, a Zen master held up a glass of water and asked, "If I hold this glass for a few minutes, it is fine. If I hold it for hours, my hand will ache. If I hold it all day, it will hurt my whole body. But the glass is still the same. What makes me suffer is not that it becomes heavier, but that I do not let go." That glass is an image of emotions, expectations, grief, loss. When we cling and do not let go, we cause ourselves suffering. Understanding impermanence does not mean pessimism or resignation. On the contrary, it is a deep awakening that life is precious precisely because it is fragile. Each moment is unique. Our loved ones will one day leave, so love them fully while you can. Spring does not last, so live each warm day fully. A word of love left unsaid today may never have a chance tomorrow. Impermanence teaches us to appreciate, to live authentically, to be less angry without reason, to forgive before it is too late. The Buddha taught, seeing impermanence, one sees non-self. Seeing non-self, one ends suffering. When we realize everything changes, we no longer cling to self-image, rigid views, or people and things that do not belong to us. We begin to release the burdens in our hearts. And then something miraculous happens. In letting go, we discover true freedom. A simple practice to touch impermanence is to look deeply into the breath. The breath comes and goes. No two breaths are alike. Each breath is an expression of life flowing by. Just pausing to observe the in-breath, the out-breath, we see the body itself changing over time. And when we realize we are only part of that flow, we suddenly feel lighter, less harsh with ourselves or others. In Zen tradition, there is a story of a monk fearful of death. One day, his master took him to a cemetery and said, "Sit here for 3 days, watch each grave, each falling leaf." At first, the disciple was terrified, but gradually he saw, the old die, the young die, the rich die, the poor too. Flowers bloom, then wither, leaves turn green, then fade. Returning after 3 days, he bowed. "I understand now, Master. Death is not to be feared. What is to be feared is living without mindfulness." From then on, he lived as if each day were a gift, no longer clinging, no longer chasing illusions. If you are suffering, remember, everything will pass. No storm lasts forever. No wound fails to heal if cared for with understanding. If you are happy, also remember, do not grasp it as if it belongs to you forever, because the most beautiful things in life are often those about to pass. Impermanence itself is what gives life its beauty. When you truly live with the wisdom of impermanence, you become softer, more accepting, and more peaceful in the face of life's sudden changes. You will stop asking, "Why me?" and instead ask, "What can I learn from this?" You will know that what comes will go. What remains will also fade, and the important thing is not to control life, but to live fully in each moment you are given. Part 8. The Art of Letting Go. Freedom lies in holding on to nothing. In a Dharma talk at Jetavana Monastery, a lay disciple said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, I have tried to practice according to your teachings, but my mind is still full of worries. Each time I think of my possessions, I fear losing them. Each time I think of my children, my heart grows heavy. I do not know how to let go of these worries." The Buddha was silent for a while, then asked, "If you are holding a burning coal, the tighter you grip it, the more you will be burned. So what should you do?" The layman replied, "Let it go, world-honored one." The Buddha smiled. "Exactly, but first you must realize you are holding burning coal. Letting go is not an act of indifference, avoidance, or denial of life. Letting go is a deep insight that some things, if held too long in the heart, will never allow us to feel light. Letting go is an act of wisdom, not weakness. It requires courage, the courage to admit that not everything in life belongs to us, and not everything can be controlled or held onto. We are often taught to strive, to fight, to grab and protect everything at all costs. But few teach us that knowing when to pause, when to let go, is also an art of living. A heart that knows how to let go is a heart that remains open. It does not shrink in fear of loss, nor close off because of old wounds. A Zen story tells of 2 monks crossing a river. At the bank, they saw a young woman hesitating, unable to step into the water. One of the monks immediately carried her across and set her down on the other side. The other monk stayed silent for a long way, then finally said, "Do you know we are monks and should not touch women?" The first monk replied, "I put her down at the riverbank long ago, but you are still carrying her in your heart even now." That story is like a bell of awakening. How many things in life we think we have left behind, but in truth still carry heavily in our hearts. A careless word, an old relationship, a past failure. All, if not illuminated by mindfulness, will become burdens dragging us back into the past or pushing us to worry about the future. Meanwhile, life only exists here and now. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibilities or giving up dreams. It is how we walk more lightly and freely on the path we have chosen. You can work wholeheartedly but not be bound by results. You can love someone deeply but not possess them. You can care for your children with devotion, but know that one day they will have their own lives. That is true love, to love without binding, to care without possessing. A simple practice is, at the end of the day before sleeping, to spend a few minutes to let the mind go. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine gently releasing each thing that happened during the day. A tense meeting, a hurtful word, or a thought that caused worry. Picture yourself placing each stone out of your mental backpack one by one. You will feel lighter, calmer, and sleep more deeply. Someone may ask, if I let go of everything, what is the point of living? The answer is, to live for the sake of living, not for the sake of holding. When you let go of anxiety, you are more present in the moment. When you let go of anger, you can listen to others with compassion. When you let go of the ego, you see that others suffer just like you. And when you let go of the notion of I am right, you create space for mutual understanding. Letting go is a process. Perhaps today you cannot let go of everything. But if each day you can release just one small thing, an expectation, a regret, a worry, that is already a great step on the path of liberation. The Buddha taught, just letting go of one speck of dust already makes you lighter. Keep letting go until even the breeze cannot cling. So if your heart feels heavy, ask yourself, what am I holding that I have not yet put down? Perhaps you don't need to seek anything more to find peace. Maybe just letting go a little is enough. Part 9. Accepting Death. The door that leads us back to true life. One afternoon during the rains retreat, the Buddha led the monks past a harvested field. By the roadside lay the corpse of an old man, quietly resting beside a pile of dry grass, unnoticed. The Buddha stopped, folded his hands in respect, then turned to his disciples and said, "One day we too will come here." There was no tragedy in his voice, only pure truth, without embellishment. In modern life, people often avoid talking about death. We fear it as a lurking shadow, and the more we fear, the more we try to fill our lives with activities, entertainments, and distractions to forget its inevitability. Yet, ironically, because we do not dare to face death, we live superficially, hurriedly, and ignorantly. Death is not an enemy, it is a teacher. A monk was once asked, "Have you prepared for death?" He smiled. "I live each day, so there are no regrets. That is my preparation." Indeed, if you knew for sure tomorrow you would not be here, would you stay angry so long? Would you cling to pride without apologizing? Would you keep postponing caring for yourself or spending time with your loved ones? The Buddhist attitude toward death is not pessimistic or mystical. It is awakening. Seeing death is to see life more clearly. When you realize you could be gone at any moment, you cherish every instant. A clear morning, a child's laughter, a loving gaze, a warm cup of tea, all become extraordinarily precious. In Zen tradition, there is a practice of contemplating death daily, not to be gloomy, but to free the mind from trivial attachments. One Zen master each morning would stand before the mirror and ask himself, "If today were my last day, how would I live?" That question became his compass, guiding him to see what truly mattered and what was just passing noise. There is also a touching story of a disciple who asked his teacher, "Master, are you afraid of death?" The Zen master sipped his tea, smiled, and said, "When hungry, I eat. When tired, I sleep. When it comes, I live. When it goes, I die. Just as spring brings blossoms and autumn brings falling leaves. What is there to fear?" We often forget that death is part of life. Without death, there is no rebirth. Like a leaf falling to nourish the roots, like rain dispersing for sprouts to rise. Death does not take away life. It is transformation. This body will decay, but consciousness, karma, and what we have given to the world will continue. The Buddha taught, "One who is mindful of death lives deeply, for they know to cherish time, to let go of trivialities, to love unconditionally. They do not let small entanglements prevent a hug, a kind word, a held hand with loved ones. They do not waste time trying to be someone in others' eyes. They only wish to live truly, fully, and wholeheartedly. If you are afraid of death, that is natural. But go deeper, sit quietly, and look directly into the fear. You will see that what you fear is not death itself, but dying without having lived. So instead of seeking to prolong life, seek to deepen it. Slow down. Observe more. Speak words of love sooner. Forgive more easily. And above all, let go of what does not matter to live more lightly. Life is a series of small deaths, a dream that fades, a relationship that ends, a chapter that closes, and we learn to accept them. That is the lesson preparing us for the final death, in serenity, without regret. Part 10. Listen to your body and mind before listening to the world. There was a middle-aged layman, always busy with work and responsibilities. He often suffered from insomnia, fatigue, forgetfulness, and poor emotional control. One day he came to a Zen master and asked, "Master, why do I always feel so tired? Even though I eat well, exercise, and rest, my mind still feels heavy and restless." The Zen master looked at him, smiled, and asked, "Have you ever truly listened to your body and mind?" The man froze. The question seemed simple, but it rang like a bell in his consciousness. For the first time, he realized that his whole life he had been chasing after life itself, without once stopping to listen to himself. We are the same. We easily hear the noise of the streets, the ringing of phones, the complaints, the expectations, but we forget the whispers of our own body and mind. The body speaks through fatigue, aches, insomnia. The mind speaks through anxiety, irritability, sadness. Yet we often cover our ears to these sounds until they become screams. The Buddha taught, "One who knows how to return to himself has the path of liberation." In all methods of practice, whether Zen, Pure Land, or Tantra, the root is always returning and seeing clearly. Seeing clearly how this body is, what this mind is thinking, feeling, and desiring, and from there, not identifying with it, not being pulled away by it. That is mindfulness. A simple Zen story tells, a monk came to ask his master, "I want to find peace. What must I do?" The master said nothing, only poured him a cup of tea. When the cup overflowed, the monk exclaimed, "Master, it's full already." The master smiled. "Your mind is like this cup, too full, and there is no space for peace. Peace cannot enter a mind crowded with worries, analysis, plans, and expectations. To find stillness, the first step is to know what you are already full of." Listening to body and mind is not abstract theory. It can begin with small acts. In the morning, instead of grabbing your phone, take 3 deep breaths and ask, "How is my body today? Any aches? Is my mind light or heavy?" That is the beginning of mindfulness. When eating, ask, "Am I eating because I am hungry or out of habit? How does this food taste?" When angry, ask, "Who is angry? Angry about what? Where did this anger come from?" These simple questions have great transformative power because they bring you back to the present instead of being swept away by automatic reactions. In a Dharma talk, Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "Your body is the first temple. Each mindful breath is a bell calling you back." Sometimes you don't need to go to a temple or meditate for hours. Just one deep breath, one moment of pausing to feel yourself, is enough to step out of stress. The modern world makes us easily forget ourselves. We live at the speed of social media, emails, schedules, and news. A day may pass without you remembering how you felt. Some work 10 years without realizing they are bored. Some stay in a relationship for 7 years and always feel lonely. Because we are not truly present, not truly listening. Worse still, we measure ourselves by others' voices. When they praise us, we're happy. When they criticize, we're sad. Our entire consciousness is controlled by the outside world. But when you listen to your body and mind long enough, you'll see. External voices are not as important as the inner one. And that inner voice needs care and love, not suppression. Practicing listening to body and mind does not mean indulging yourself or neglecting responsibilities. It means knowing your limits, knowing when to rest, when to recharge. One who listens to body and mind is one who knows how to love correctly, neither too harshly nor too loosely. You can begin with a quiet morning without your phone. Sit upright, breathe slowly, close your eyes, and place your hand on your heart. Ask yourself, what do I truly feel right now? The answer may not be clear, but the very act of asking and listening is already a big step. Gradually, you will see your body and mind like a child. If cared for properly, it will no longer throw tantrums. In the Sutra on Mindful Breathing, the Buddha taught clearly, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. It sounds simple, but in that simplicity lies profound wisdom, because most of the time we breathe without knowing we breathe. We live without knowing we live. When you know how to listen to body and mind, you will realize something miraculous. All the answers you seek outside already have seeds within. Stillness is real. Peace is real. They are not far away. They are only covered by the dust of hurry and forgetfulness. And when you know how to return, everything becomes clear again. Try practicing every day, just 5 minutes at the beginning and end of the day, to pause, breathe, and check in with yourself. You don't need to understand all the Dharma. You don't need to meditate for hours. Just begin by listening to yourself with a non-judging mind. That alone is enough to transform your life. Listening to body and mind is not to seek something lofty, but to return to yourself, the one who has been quietly speaking each day. Just slow down a little, breathe a little deeper, and you'll see that peace has never left you. If this sharing brings you a little calm amidst the noise, don't forget to click like to spread this energy further, and subscribe to the Dharma in Motion channel to continue walking together with mindful teachings applied in daily life. Thank you for listening, and may you listen to yourself even more. Part 11. When hurt, don't blame life. Too quickly, look back at yourself. A disciple once came complaining to a Zen master. "Master, I was hurt by someone. I cannot forgive them." The master asked, "Did that person hit you?" The disciple shook his head. "They only spoke cruel words to me." The master calmly asked again, "Then who carried those cruel words with you all day, repeating them, replaying them, and hurting yourself?" The disciple was silent. We often believe the cause of our pain lies outside, in others, in their words, actions, or attitudes. But if observed carefully, you will see what hurts you is not exactly what was done, but how you interpret and hold on to it in your mind. When someone insults you, what makes you so angry you lose sleep? Is it because the words themselves are truly dangerous? Or because you think, "I don't deserve this, I must be respected"? They are so wrong. These thoughts are not wrong, but by holding on to them, we hurt ourselves a second, third, and hundreds more times. In the Buddha's teachings, one important practice is to contemplate how the mind works when provoked. When someone insults you, you can pause and ask, Is this statement true? If true, then why suffer? If false, then why be angry? Does that not simply mean the anger shows you are identifying with an image of yourself that you think is me, that I is touched, so you react? The heavier the ego, the easier to be hurt. The emptier a person feels inside, the more they seek validation outside. And when they do not get it, they feel abandoned. But when you are solidly present with yourself, you are not easily swayed by words or looks from others. A Zen story tells that one day, the Buddha was harshly insulted by a Brahmin. He remained still and silent, without reacting. When the man left in frustration, a disciple asked, "Lord, why did you not respond?" The Buddha smiled. "If someone offers me a gift and I do not accept it, does the gift not remain theirs? Likewise, insults, if I do not take them, cannot harm me." That story is not just ancient lore, it is a living instruction. We have the right to refuse negativity from others, but to do so we must practice mindfulness, to notice emotions arising, yet not let them control our actions. In daily life, hurt can come from very small things: a message left unanswered, being ignored, an unfair comparison. But you can learn to see them like clouds, coming and going. You can ask, does this really reflect my value, or is it just a small poke at my ego? That question will help you regain your center instead of being pulled outward. One practice is to write down the things that recently hurt you, then continue writing. What did I think? What did I feel? How did I react? What can I let go of from this? This reflection helps transform hurt into understanding. The Dharma does not promise you will never be hurt, but it gives you a boat to cross pain with mindfulness, lightly and deeply. You learn not to react automatically. You learn to let go at the right time. And most importantly, you learn to see yourself in the pain instead of letting pain define who you are. When we no longer see ourselves as victims of others, we regain mastery of our minds. Then, not only do we heal, but we also grow. Part 12. Understanding loneliness. When being alone is no longer a fear. A young person once told me, "I live in a crowded city, I have friends, I have work, yet I still feel like I'm on an isolated island in the middle of a sea of people. No one truly understands me. No one truly listens." That is not a rare story. Loneliness is everywhere, silent and persistent. It can appear in an empty room or in the middle of a crowded party. Loneliness does not always come from having no one beside you. Sometimes it comes because you cannot connect with yourself. In the Buddha's teaching, the feeling of loneliness arises when we do not see ourselves as part of the whole. When we think we are separate, different, misunderstood, or left behind. But that is only an illusion of the ego. In reality, we are always in intimate connection with everything. Without air, we cannot breathe. Without light, we cannot see. Without the rice farmer, we have no meal. Loneliness is a feeling, not the truth. The Buddha did not teach us to run away from loneliness, but invited us to stay with it, to look deeply into it, and to discover what lies behind it. Often behind loneliness is a calling, a desire to be understood, to be loved, to be accepted. And that begins with ourselves. We must understand ourselves, love ourselves, accept ourselves, instead of waiting for others to do it for us. A Zen master once said, "Loneliness is not the absence of others. Loneliness is when you refuse to sit quietly with yourself." That saying overturns the popular definition of loneliness. In meditation, you learn to sit, not to isolate, but to listen. When you listen deeply enough, you will discover you are not truly alone. There is a stream of life flowing within you, a life breathing through every cell. You are part of that vast life, never separate. Imagine sitting alone under a tree, no phone, no one to talk to, just your breath and the sound of the wind. At first, you may feel empty, even panicked, but if you stay long enough, you will begin to notice. There is a profound peace in that moment, a stillness that does not need to be filled with noise or busyness. That is being alone without being lonely. In modern life, people fear silence. The moment they wake up, they turn on music, the phone, anything that makes sound. We are obsessed with connection, messages, notifications. Yet paradoxically, the more we connect outward, the farther we drift from within. And so, among 1,000 followers on social media, we may still feel like we belong nowhere. Practicing the Dharma helps you build a refuge within, a space you can return to anytime, anywhere, whether someone is with you or not. That space is created by mindfulness, by meditation, by loving kindness. It is a place where you do not need to perform, do not need to pretend, do not need to try to become someone else. Just yourself, simple and complete. A simple practice is to spend 5-10 minutes each day sitting quietly, without phone, without goal, without needing to do anything, just to be there with yourself. Observe your breath, recognize your emotions, smile at your mind as if greeting an old friend. At first it may feel uncomfortable, but gradually you will see those moments as precious, like going on a date with your own soul. It must also be said clearly, you have the right to feel lonely. That is a very human part of us. But instead of letting that feeling lead you to despair, let it guide you inward. Each time you feel empty, ask, what do I really need right now? Someone beside me or myself sitting with me? That answer, if sincere, will be the light that guides you. When you can be alone without being lonely, you no longer seek others to fill the emptiness. Instead, you share the fullness within you. Then relationships become authentic, without clinging or dependence. You no longer love someone to escape loneliness, but because love flows naturally from a heart already full. And you know what? When you can dwell peacefully in being alone, the right connections will come. Not because you need them, but because you have become a place of peace where others also wish to rest. Part 13. When you don't know what you're living for, the journey to rediscover life's meaning. Have you ever woken up one morning, looked around your familiar room, and suddenly asked, what am I living for? Work is the same, loved ones are still there, yet inside you is a vast emptiness that nothing seems able to fill. You are not sad, but not happy either, not in despair, but no longer clearly motivated. That is the state of many people in today's world, living as if drifting. In Buddhist teaching, this state is described as ignorance, avidya, not stupidity, but a lack of clarity about the path one is walking, not knowing the purpose of living, not knowing what you are truly seeking in your daily efforts. And while outwardly you may be successful, famous, possessing what others desire, inside you still feel lost. Seeking meaning is not a one-time action, it is a journey of returning to yourself, to see what makes your heart vibrate, what makes you feel alive, truly alive. The Buddha taught that each person has a right livelihood, a way of living aligned with the heart, causing no harm, bringing true value. But to find that path requires deep listening, time to turn inward, and enough courage to live honestly with what you find. A story told in the scriptures is about a young man who came to ask the Buddha, Lord, what must I do to make my life meaningful? The Buddha looked at him and said, begin by living mindfully in each breath, then observe what makes your heart shine. Do not follow the crowd. Do not live for others' expectations. Meaning is not out there, it is in each act you do with a clear heart. Indeed, many of us grow up with set molds. Study hard, get a stable job, marry, acquire property. But then one day, when all external things are fulfilled, an inner voice asks, have I truly lived? Or have I just been completing a checklist of expectations? The Dharma teaches us to return to the present, where even the smallest act can become sacred if done with mindfulness. A person washing dishes in mindfulness can touch peace. A person caring for parents with gratitude can touch a depth of meaning greater than 1,000 ideals. Meaning need not be grand. It only needs to be true. If you feel lost, pause a little. Place your hand on your heart and ask, "What am I living for?" You may not have a clear answer yet, and that is okay. As long as you keep listening, keep living kindly, and keep walking step by step in mindfulness, the path will gradually appear. A simple practice is, each night before sleep, write down 3 things you did that day which brought joy, lightness, or a bit of peace. They need not be big. It could be the smile you gave someone, the moment you didn't get angry, or the meal you ate in gratitude. These are seeds of meaning, and if you keep nurturing them, they will grow into a life full of vitality. The world will always change. The roles you hold today will also change. But if you have a soul that knows how to listen, knows how to return inward, you will never truly be lost. Because meaning is nowhere else. It lies in how you are fully present with life, one day at a time. Part 14, Transforming Negative Emotions, Learning to See Clearly. Without being swept away, one day, someone came to an old Zen master and said, "I feel like I'm being swallowed by negative emotions. Sadness, anger, jealousy, doubt. I've tried to meditate, I've tried to think positively, but they keep coming back, clinging." The Zen master gently replied, "Have you ever sat down, made them a cup of tea, and asked what they need?" In that answer lies a great spirit of the Dharma. Instead of rejecting emotions, invite them in like a guest and listen. Negative emotions are not enemies, they are signals. They come to tell you that something inside needs to be understood. One of the reasons negative emotions linger is because we usually react in 2 ways, either suppress or act out. When angry, we yell, hurt others. Or on the other hand, we swallow it inside, hurting ourselves. When sad, we pretend to be strong or drown in despair. Both extremes trap emotional energy in the mind. The Buddha taught a 3rd path, contemplation. When an emotion arises, pause, breathe deeply, recognize, this is anger, this is sadness. Simply naming it, acknowledging its presence, is like an old friend knocking at the door. Do not identify yourself with the emotion. Don't say, "I am anger" or "I am sadness." Say instead, "I am present with this emotion." Seeing the emotion is the first step to freedom. Once you recognize it, ask, "Where did you come from? What do you need?" Behind anger may be an unhealed wound. Behind jealousy, a sense of lack. Behind sadness, a longing for connection. Each emotion carries a message, and if you are calm enough to listen, you will begin to understand yourself more deeply than ever. A simple Buddhist practice is emotional meditation. When negative emotions appear, instead of acting or avoiding, find a quiet place, sit down, and breathe with that emotion. Let your whole body acknowledge its presence, then breathe in. Breathe out as if holding a crying child. When you do this with presence and compassion, you will see the emotion gradually calm down, dissolving like morning mist under sunlight. In the Sutra on Mind, the Buddha compared emotions to clouds. They may cover the sky of consciousness, but they are not the sky. They come and go. They do not define who you are. When you understand this, you are no longer afraid of emotions. You become softer, more flexible, and more compassionate with yourself. Imagine one day after work, you are tired, and your heart is full of irritation. Instead of shouting at your loved ones, you sit down, take 3 deep breaths, and say, "Today I'm a bit tired. Please give me some space to return to myself." Just that small change in how you approach emotions avoids an argument, and more than that, it protects the happiness of your family. The Dharma does not promise to rid us of sadness, anger, or suffering, but it gives us eyes to see clearly and a heart wide enough to embrace it all. Transformation does not come from denial, but from recognition, understanding, and letting go at the right time. Each time you can do this, you are planting a seed of mindfulness in your consciousness, and one day you will realize you are no longer swept away by waves because you have learned how to sit still in the middle of a stormy sea. See, as part 15, mindful living is not escaping life, but understanding it. One autumn morning, in the small courtyard of a Zen monastery, a young person came to ask a Zen master, "Master, what does mindful living mean? Does it mean living slowly, apart from the hustle and bustle of life?" The master did not answer immediately. He slowly poured a cup of tea, handed it to him, and gently said, "Drink this tea as if it were the very first cup you've ever had in your life." The young man held it, but his hand was still on his phone, his eyes glancing at the clock. The master smiled and pointed, "You see, your body is drinking tea, but your mind is elsewhere. That is unconscious living, what most of us are doing every day. Mindful living, or mindfulness, sati, does not mean withdrawing from life. It is not about escaping the world, quitting work, or abandoning comforts. On the contrary, it is how you can be more fully present within this very life, with a mind not pulled away, with clarity untangled. The Buddha never taught that we must hide in forests to be enlightened. He taught that we must see clearly right here in the present unfolding. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the foundation of all meditation practice, the Buddha taught, "Contemplate the body in the body, feelings in feelings, mind in mind, phenomena in phenomena," meaning observe how the body moves, how feelings rise and fall, how the mind is carried by thoughts, and how phenomena arise and cease. Each step, each breath, each emotion is practice. You don't need to wait until you meditate. You don't need to wait until the mind is calm. Even in noise and busyness, you can be mindful. We often live in two extremes, either drifting with the current or withdrawing in avoidance. But mindfulness is the third path, neither chasing nor fleeing. It is walking into life with eyes wide open and a steady heart. There was a young woman working under high office pressure. She was irritable, exhausted, feeling like life was a meaningless repetition. One day she happened to watch a Dharma talk by Thich Nhat Hanh. She began practicing mindfulness. In the morning, instead of rushing, she took 3 deep breaths before leaving bed. When washing her face, she only washed her face, feeling the cool water on her skin. When eating, she did not look at her phone, and gradually she began to notice small things she had never seen. Birds outside the window, sunlight through leaves, the true taste of food. She said, "I still work, still chase deadlines, but I no longer feel consumed. I've begun to know I am living." That is mindful living, living with the awareness that you are alive, not abandoning life, but seeing life clearly in each moment. Practicing mindfulness does not need to be complicated. It can start with the simplest acts. When washing dishes, only wash dishes. Feel the warmth of the water, the smoothness of the plates, the gentle sound of flowing water. When driving, only drive. No music, no planning tomorrow. Feel the steering wheel in your hands, the morning air, the reflection of light. When speaking with someone, listen with your full attention, not interrupting, not preparing your reply. Just present, truly present. You will be surprised to see your deep presence can heal others. Often what loved ones need is not advice, but someone willing to sit quietly, to listen without judgment. Mindfulness is the priceless gift you can give others and yourself. Some may say, "But life is too busy. How can I find time for mindfulness?" In fact, you don't need extra time. You only need to change the way you live each moment. A mindful breath in a meeting is as precious as a long meditation session. A conscious step on the street is one step closer to peace. Mindfulness is not only seeing clearly, but transforming suffering. When you see anger arising, you don't let it possess you. When you see the body tired, you don't force it to strain. When you see jealousy, you smile without blaming yourself, just softly noting, a cloud passing. That seeing is light, helping you not be swept away. In a Dharma talk, the Buddha compared the mind to a lake. When the lake is still, you can see the bottom, but when stirred by greed, hatred, delusion, by worry or envy, the water is muddy and you see nothing. Mindfulness is how that lake settles, no need to force, just gently recognizing, not reacting. Then the mind settles naturally, and in that stillness, wisdom appears. You don't need to be a monk to live mindfully. A mother, a father, an office worker, a shopkeeper, anyone can live mindfully. You only need to truly wish to meet yourself again, not the hurried, stressed, deadline-chasing self, but the self fully present here and now. Try choosing one act each day, any act, and do it mindfully. Drink a cup of tea, eat a meal, bathe, wash your hands. Do it as if you were offering a sacred gift to your own life. Do not judge, do not rush. Simply do it with your full presence. When you live this way, even small things become practice, and you will realize peace is not far. It has always been here, in this very moment. Part 16, Trusting Yourself, the root of happiness from within. There is a Zen story that tells a disciple asked the Zen master, "How can I find the path to liberation?" The master replied, "Stop searching, you are the path." The disciple was confused. "But I feel weak, small, unworthy." The master smiled. "It is precisely because you do not trust yourself that you keep searching outside." That story reflects the reality of many people in our time. We grow up in a world that constantly emphasizes, you must achieve something great, you must accomplish something better than others to be recognized, to be worthy. And so, instead of returning inward, we endlessly chase after external validation, grades, achievements, praise, status. But the more we chase, the emptier we feel. The Buddha taught, one who knows how to return and rely on themselves has already taken a great step on the path to enlightenment. Relying on oneself here does not mean selfishness or arrogance. It is the understanding that all the seeds of peace, wisdom, and compassion are already within us. The problem is that we do not see them, or we do not dare to believe we can touch them. Have you ever looked into the mirror and felt you were not good enough? Have you ever felt that your words were not worth hearing, your feelings not worth caring about, your dreams meaningless? Those feelings, if repeated long enough, become invisible chains, and you will live a half-hearted life, not daring to speak honestly, not daring to live authentically, not daring to love fully. The Dharma invites you to undo those chains, not by chasing after some lofty ideal, but by acceptance, a wholehearted acceptance of who you are in this very moment. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means seeing yourself as you are with all your imperfect pieces, and from there beginning to nurture. An important practice is mindfulness of self-worth. Each day, spend a few minutes sitting quietly, breathing slowly, and repeating inwardly, I am enough. I deserve peace. My presence is precious. You may write it on a piece of paper, stick it on your mirror, read it each morning. At first, you may not believe it, but if you keep watering this seed, you will begin to feel transformation. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha once said, "Be an island unto yourself." That island does not need to be vast or perfect, but it must be steady. Each time you return to the breath, each time you refrain from judging yourself, each time you listen to yourself, you are building that island. And then you will realize No one out there can give you your value. That value is something you discover, protect, and grow within each mindful day. A person who trusts themselves is not someone who has never fallen, but someone who knows how to stand up with kindness each time they fall. Not to become extraordinary, but to continue living fully and at ease. For when you trust yourself, you are no longer a victim of life, but the creator of your own life. When you are no longer bound by the past, nor pulled by the future, you will realize the present is the greatest gift. And in each moment of presence, you already have everything you need to live peacefully, steadily, and freely. If this sharing touches something deep within you, please don't forget to press like to spread mindfulness to more people, and subscribe to the Dharma in Motion channel to continue walking together with gentle, profound Dharma talks close to everyday life. Thank you for listening, and may you always return to the miraculous moment that is here and now. Part 17. Karma is not punishment. Understanding correctly to live more lightly. In daily life, when someone goes through misfortune, an accident, failure, or hurt, people often say, "It must be karma." It sounds like resignation, as if destiny were already programmed. But if we understand karma as a fixed sentence, that is not the Buddha's teaching. In fact, the Buddha rejected the notion of fate. He taught, karma is intentional action. And since action arises from the mind, when the mind changes, karma can also be transformed. Imagine a person prone to anger. Each time something goes against their will, they explode, shout, and hurt others. In that moment, they are planting a kind of karma, the karma of anger. If this behavior repeats, it becomes habit, then character. Consequences naturally follow: broken relationships, restless mind, weakened health. But if that person begins to recognize anger, practice breathing, learn to pause before reacting, they are creating a new stream of karma, of mindfulness, compassion, and understanding. From there, the fruit of suffering will gradually transform into the fruit of peace. Once, someone asked Zen master Ajahn Chah, "Do you believe in karma?" He replied, "I don't believe, I see." See what? See that every thought, every act, no matter how small, leaves an imprint, a loving glance, a word of thanks, a moment of restraint from anger. All create gentle ripples in the mind and the world around. And likewise, every harsh word, every unwholesome act is a seed sown in the soil of our lives. The issue is, we don't see the result immediately. Just like planting a seed, it doesn't grow into a tree the next day. But the seed doesn't disappear. It waits for the right conditions to sprout. Karma is the same. It is not instant punishment, but the natural flow of cause, condition, effect. And because of this, the wonderful truth is, we always have the power to plant new seeds, starting right now. A person who has made many mistakes can still begin again. A person who once lived selfishly, if one day they turn toward others with sincerity, that act can outweigh the past. Just as in deep darkness, lighting a single candle makes the darkness retreat. A simple practice to transform karma is mindfulness in each small action. When washing dishes, wash with presence. When speaking, speak with listening. When walking, take mindful steps. Each such act is a new karma, wholesome, gentle, being planted. Habits will become character, and character will lead to destiny. So instead of asking, "What karmic retribution must I bear?" ask, "What am I planting each day?" Let each thought, each word, each action become an expression of mindfulness. And even if you do not see change immediately, be patient. For as the Buddha said, karma is not chains that bind, but the path we are walking. And each mindful step today is already a response to tomorrow's peace. Part 18. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go arises from understanding and compassion. In a Dharma talk, the Buddha once said, "Renunciation is the release of what is no longer suitable, no longer necessary, no longer beneficial, not out of aversion but out of clear understanding." That statement opens up an important truth. Letting go does not mean denial or rejection. It is not the act of discarding something with bitterness, but the capacity to see clearly and to smile as you step forward. Imagine you are carrying a backpack. Each day you put into it a little worry, a little expectation, a few judgments, a few old wounds. Over the years, that backpack becomes heavy, making you tired and hesitant. But instead of stopping to see what's inside, you keep struggling to carry on, thinking, "That's life, I have to bear it." So, at some point, your body aches, your mind exhausts, and you are forced to sit down. And in that moment, if you are willing to look back, you will see. There are things you have carried for years but never truly needed. Letting go is like that. It is not some lofty or difficult gesture, but an awakening. When you see the nature of impermanence, when you realize that all emotions come and go, all relationships have their conditions, all successes or failures are temporary, you will stop clinging so tightly. You will understand that holding on is not always love, and releasing is not always indifference. There is a short Zen story. Two monks were on their way back to the monastery when they saw a woman struggling to cross a stream. One of them carried her across, then continued walking. When they reached the monastery, the other asked, "Brother, we are not supposed to touch women. Why did you carry her?" The first monk smiled. "I put her down by the stream long ago, but you are still carrying her in your heart until now?" That simple story is profound. Often what makes us weary is not what happened, but what we keep holding on to in our minds. In modern life, letting go could mean letting go of an unhealthy relationship, letting go of a job that makes you lose yourself, letting go of an ideal self-image you no longer are. But sometimes letting go is simply taking a deep breath, smiling and not trying to control others. It is allowing life to unfold as it is, with your presence and understanding. The practice of letting go is not passive or irresponsible. On the contrary, it is a courageous act, because you dare to look at the truth, neither denying it nor clinging to it. Letting go is the active choice to live more lightly without letting the past bind the present. A simple practice. Each night before sleeping, place your hand on your chest and ask, "What am I still holding on to today?" Write down the things that weigh on you. Then take 3 deep breaths and imagine each of those things leaving you, not because you hate them, but because you respect yourself. Doing this regularly, you will feel the transformation. Letting go is the first step to living true to yourself. It is the space that allows good things to come. For only when the hand is not clenched can you receive. And only when the heart is no longer full of resistance can peace bloom. Part 19. Letting go is not avoidance. Distinguishing between numbness and mindfulness. Have you ever heard someone say, "I don't feel anything anymore," as if their heart had closed? In moments of grief, loss, or mental exhaustion, people sometimes fall into a state of emotional numbness. They no longer feel sad, but no longer joyful either. No longer angry, but also no longer touched by beauty. That state is easily mistaken for serenity, for letting go, for no longer clinging. But in reality, it may be a sign of inner paralysis, a subtle defense mechanism against unhealed pain. In the Dharma, letting go is an act of awareness. One who truly lets go does not reject emotions, but sees them clearly, accepts them, then releases them with compassion. In contrast, when we ignore or suppress emotions, we are not letting go, but merely storing them away in a dark corner of the mind. There, the unhealed wounds still smolder like small embers under ash. There is a short Zen story about a young monk proud that he no longer felt anger, sadness, or joy. When asked, he said, "I feel my heart like a still lake, unmoved." The old Zen master smiled and replied, "A still lake does not mean it is deep. It could just be shallow water." That statement is profound. Sometimes what we call stillness is only a surface shell, while inside the heart is still full of doubt, resistance, and unresolved pain. In truth, mindfulness is not becoming numb. On the contrary, it is the ability to feel everything fully without being swept away. You can feel sadness without sinking into despair. You can feel anger without speaking words that wound. You can be moved, yet remain clear-minded. That is the strength of practice, the strength of living with an open heart and a mindful gaze. In modern life, many people fall into what is called emotional numbness. They live as if trapped in a cycle, waking, working, scrolling, sleeping. They no longer feel excitement for anything, nor pain for anything. Everything is fine, but it is a cold kind of fine. If you have ever felt this way, do not quickly think it is peace. It may be a sign that you have closed your heart for too long. A suggested practice: each day allow yourself to feel something, whether joy or sadness, light or deep. It could be listening to music, reading a poem, hugging someone tightly, or simply watching a leaf fall and feeling your heart pause. Let emotions pass through you like guests, neither forcing nor rejecting. Gradually, you will find your heart softening, but not weak, strong in its gentleness. True letting go does not make you cold. It makes you warm without attachment. You can love without controlling. You can give without expecting. You can cry, then smile, because you know that everything comes and goes. And in that flow, you choose to stand steady with understanding and love. Part 20. Sometimes we must lose everything to know what we truly have. There was once a man living in a small village. For years, he felt his life was dull, boring work, troublesome wife and children, each day repeating itself. One morning, he woke up and found that everything had vanished. His house, his family, even his own body was gone. He panicked, screamed, ran everywhere, but no one heard him. He drifted between dream and reality like an invisible ghost. When he woke, he saw himself still lying in bed, everything intact. But from that day, he changed completely. He began to cherish each meal, each hug, each morning when he could still open his eyes to greet life. He no longer complained, because he had seen clearly. The most ordinary things are the most precious. That story is like a gentle yet profound reminder. Sometimes we must lose or almost lose something before we truly understand its value. People often rush to seek what is better, forgetting that the ordinary is already a blessing. We often think happiness lies somewhere beyond the present. A bigger house, a higher-paying job, an ideal partner. Yet, as soon as we gain that, the mind shifts to something else, like a monkey swinging from branch to branch, never stopping. The Buddha called this the restless mind, always feeling it is not enough, always seeking outside to fill the emptiness within. Ironically, sometimes shocks, such as losing a job, illness, separation, become opportunities to awaken. They force us to stop, to look back, and to ask, how am I living? What truly matters? In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, it is a great blessing to live contentedly, to be grateful for what one has, and to know clearly what brings peace. There was once a woman with late-stage cancer. When she learned she had only a few months left, she did not cling, she did not panic. She began writing thank you letters each day, thanking the nurse, thanking the grandchild who brought porridge, thanking the morning sunlight. She said, I lived 60 years, but this is the first time I truly lived, when I knew my time was limited. Her words moved many people. But must we wait until death approaches to begin cherishing life? The Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent, yet we often interpret impermanence negatively, as loss. In truth, impermanence is also the reason to be grateful, because everything can be lost. Every moment that still exists is a gift. A hug, a conversation, a family meal, none can ever repeat. If you understand this, you will live each moment as if it were the last. Reflect on your day. How many times did you breathe without knowing you were breathing? How many times did you eat without tasting? How many times did you speak words of love, forgetting that the person may not always be there? We often wait until everything collapses to appreciate. But a practitioner is one who can see clearly in the present, to see the preciousness of what is here. The Buddha did not promise life would always be favorable. He only taught us how not to suffer amid uncertainty. When you know everything is impermanent, you will not cling. And when you do not cling, you will not suffer. The key lies in clear seeing, seeing what is present, what is changing, and what does not belong to you. In modern life, we have many things: technology, conveniences, choices, yet we easily fall into emptiness and disconnection because we lose our connection with ourselves, with loved ones, with the present moment. Mindfulness is not about adding more, but about returning, about seeing, and from that seeing, gratitude naturally arises. Each morning, place your hand on your chest, take a deep breath and whisper, "Thank you for I am still alive. Thank you for I still have the chance to love." Call your mother. Hug your child a little longer. Look into the eyes of your loved ones without rushing past. Walk without needing a destination. Eat a meal without hurry, and take time simply to watch the clouds. This is not luxury. This is truly living. Someone might ask, but if I know everything will be lost, won't I feel sad? No, precisely because you know impermanence, you live more deeply. Just as one who knows they will soon part from a loved one will cherish each moment together. Knowing impermanence does not make you suffer. It makes you awake. And from that, you learn how to live fully with what you have. When you meditate, when you practice mindfulness, it is not to attain something strange. It is to return to what is simple, to see clearly, and to cherish. To see what you have, instead of regretting what is lost or dreaming of what has not yet come. And if you can do that, each day will no longer be repetitive, but fresh, radiant, and complete. Part 21. Peace is when the mind no longer resists itself. We spend our whole lives searching for peace. Some think it lies in a quiet house. Others believe it is in a long journey to forget all sorrows. Some devote themselves to prayer, practice, hoping one day to reach a perfect state of peace, where there is no suffering, no affliction, no restlessness. But the Buddha never taught that peace is something external to be achieved. He pointed out that peace is already present, only we have forgotten the way back to it. A person who runs from pain, trying in every way to avoid restlessness, will never touch peace, because peace does not come from the absence of suffering, but from the ability to accept suffering as part of life. The mind is truly peaceful only when it no longer resists what is, no longer fighting emotions, no longer fleeing the past, no longer clinging to the future. It is like a quiet stream, clear and deep, reflecting everything as it is. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "One who lives with few desires, content, without greed, without hatred, with mindfulness, living in the present, that one finds peace." Mindfulness is not a technique, it is a way of life. It is the capacity to be fully present in each moment, whether pleasant or unpleasant, easy or challenging. When you drink a cup of tea and truly taste its flavor, warmth, and awareness, you have touched peace. When you sit quietly in the sound of rain, wanting nothing more, rejecting nothing, You have merged with the natural stillness of the universe. A student once asked a Zen master, "How can my mind stop being restless?" The master drew a circle on the ground and said, "Your mind is like a lake. When you do not stir it with craving or resistance, it will be still on its own." The student looked at the circle for a long time and suddenly understood. Peace is not a destination, but stopping the stirring of the mind, by ceasing judgment, ceasing demands, ceasing to live against oneself. Peace does not come from a Dharma talk, a book, or a place. It comes from this very moment when you sit deeply with yourself, needing nothing more than breath and awareness. When you understand this, you no longer seek peace, you begin to live in peace. We may not be perfect. Life will still have joys, sorrows, and imperfections. But if each day you give yourself just 5 minutes to sit quietly, return to the breath, let go of a little craving, a little regret, and simply be with yourself, then little by little peace will grow like a seed watered regularly. And one day you will realize you never had to go anywhere, for peace is yourself. When you no longer resist yourself. Part 22, 21 Days of Mindfulness Practice. The Journey Back to Yourself. If you have listened fully to these 21 parts, perhaps in your heart there have been moments of resonance, of silence. Perhaps you have understood more about suffering, impermanence, letting go, mindfulness, and the happiness that comes from within. But understanding alone is not enough. Like a seed, no matter how precious, if not planted and watered, it will forever lie dormant in the dark. The Buddha did not teach us theory. He invited us to practice, little by little, day by day, to live a life of ease and mindfulness. And to conclude the journey of Dharma in motion, today you are offered a gift. 21 days of meditation practice. Simple, gentle, yet deeply transformative. Each day you need only 5-10 minutes. No special space is required, no complex rituals, only a heart ready to sit, breathe, and listen. Day 1. Return to the breath. Sit quietly, gently close your eyes. Simply observe the breath going in, going out. No adjustment, no forcing. Each time the mind wanders, simply return to the breath. Day 2. Gratitude for life. Whisper within, "Thank you that today I am still alive, still breathing, still able to hear the Dharma." Gratitude is the foundation of true happiness. Day 3. Listening to yourself. Ask, "How is my mind today?" Do not try to change it. Simply recognize and accept. Day 4. Contemplating impermanence. Look at a flower, a cup of tea, a loved one, and silently think, "All will change. Let me cherish this moment." Day 5. Recognizing greed. During the day, whenever you notice yourself wanting something intensely, pause, breathe deeply, and observe, "Do I truly need this, or do I just want it?" Day 6. Recognizing anger. When something makes you upset, a loved one, work, words, instead of reacting, stay silent and place your hand on your chest. "I am angry, but I am not the anger." Day 7. Recognizing delusion. Ask, "What I am so certain of today, will it always be true?" Begin to nurture an open view, a willingness to listen. Day 8. Walking in mindfulness. Each step today, whether going to work, the market, or simply walking, take it slowly, feeling the soles of your feet touch the ground. Day 9. Eating in mindfulness. Choose one meal without a phone, without conversation, just eating, and savor each bite as a miracle. Day 10. Letting go of small things. Try forgiving something from the past, maybe someone who once hurt you or yourself. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. Day 11. Sitting with pain. Choose one uncomfortable emotion, loneliness, fear, regret, and sit with it like a friend. No need to push away, no need to fix. Day 12, gazing at the sky. Spend 3 minutes looking at the sky, whether bright or dark, rainy or sunny. Silently give thanks that life still continues vast and wondrous. Day 13, listening to another today. Listen to someone without interrupting, without debating, without judging. Just listen as a gift. Day 14, speaking words of kindness. Choose a friend you have not contacted for a long time and send a blessing or a simple word of thanks. Day 15, doing nothing. Spend 5 minutes simply doing nothing. No phone, no goal, no productivity. Just sit and breathe. Day 16, writing to yourself. Write a short note, "Dear me," as if comforting the child within you. Day 17, contemplating death. Imagine, if today were your last day, how would you want to live? Whom would you want to embrace? What would you want to forgive? Day 18, letting go of expectations. Choose one thing you are trying to control, another person, work, outcomes, and whisper, "I allow things to be as they are." Day 19, listening to nature. Go outdoors. Close your eyes. Just listen. The leaves, the wind, the birds, and let nature heal you. Day 20, seeing yourself in others. Look at someone who often annoys you and silently think, they too have felt pain, fear, and loneliness, just like me. Day 21, returning to yourself. Sit quietly, place your hand on your heart. Whisper, "I return to rely on myself. Here is the peaceful home." This 21-day journey of practice does not promise to make you a new person, but it can help you see yourself more clearly, let go more gently, and live a little more slowly each day. No one can awaken for you, but you can begin simply by listening to a breath, taking a mindful step, and living as if each day is a miracle. We have traveled together through 22 turns of the Dharma wheel, not to seek answers outside, but to gradually return within, where the Buddha's teachings quietly echo in each breath, each step, each mindful moment. Perhaps you have listened while weary, in the midst of an uncertain day, or during sleepless nights. But if in those moments your heart felt soothed, then this journey has truly had meaning. If this series of podcasts has given you support, understanding, or simply a pause to breathe, please kindly click like, subscribe to Dharma in Motion, and share with those you love. For mindfulness is not only a gift for oneself, but also a small light we can offer each other amid the many shadows of life. See you again in the next turns of the wheel. May you always live peacefully, fully, and mindfully amidst the impermanence of life.